Well, it sure seems that Microsoft has sprung a leak, as a trusted insider has just given us a plethora of information about the Xbox 2 or Xbox Scarlett, whatever you want to call the next generation of Xbox hardware, talking about what CPU is going to be in the system, the GPU, the release date, all the way down to the multi-pronged approach that Xbox is going to take to try to win the next generation of consoles. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with a million, back again with another video. And you know what? If you enjoyed this video, by the end of it, make sure you give it a like and hit that sub button if you're new. Now, this information was certainly interesting to wake up to today, and it comes to us from Brad Sams. You might remember him. He's the one who originally leaked the Project Scarlett details, as well as giving us the information about the discless Xbox One that is coming soon. He put out a YouTube video yesterday detailing all this information I'm going to go over, and I'll have his video linked in the description so you can head over there, give him a like, check out what he has to say. So let's get into some of these leaks, shall we? And first up, we're going to talk about the release date. Brad Sams reiterates very strongly that Xbox 2 will be releasing in 2020, to no one's surprise. And I'm really excited about that because it looks like we're going to have a heavyweight showdown between PlayStation 5 and the Xbox 2. And personally, I can't wait to see what both consoles are packing under the hoods, what the launch lineups will be. It's going to be a great time for gamers. Now, of course, I'm sure you guys are wondering, everybody out there, like, what is the CPU? What is the GPU? What is Brad Sams saying around that aspect? Well, he goes on to say that the Scarlett, the Xbox 2, will indeed be using AMD's Zen 2 CPU, as well as their next-gen GPU technology, which a lot of people call Navi. Now, I'm not the most tech-focused dude. You'll find other channels on YouTube that can tell you more about those specific things. But he goes on to say that with those CPUs and GPUs, that 4K 60 frames is on the agenda, and that is what these boxes are going to be targeting. Now, I'm all for more frame rate, to be honest with you, and I do love the better picture, or at least the image quality that 4K can give you on a TV, but I'm not that big of a graphics guy. Usually when presented with a choice, I'll choose performance mode in 1080p 60 over a 4K 30 mode. But if I can get all my games running at 4K 60, that would be absolutely wonderful. And I know you guys would be like, well, you couldn't do that, Rand. Go play on the PC. I have no interest playing on the PC. I'm a console guy. Now, of course, I don't think this means every game's going to run at 4K 60. There'll be some developers who try to maximize everything they can get out of it, and they'll go 4K 30, which is perfectly fine to me. But definitely frame rate is something that these consoles can do better on, the PS4 and the Xbox One. So it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how both the Xbox 2 and the PS5 hardware spec-wise compete. I honestly think both of them are going to be pretty similar. You know, I don't think one's going to have a big, huge advantage over the other, and they're going to run games pretty much very similarly. And so the battle will come down to the price point, the lineup of games at launch, the services that these consoles have, and things of that nature. And that's where we're going to get into next here, is that the next-gen strategy. Brad Sams goes over this in detail about how Microsoft is approaching the next generation and how they have a multi-pronged approach to attack different price points. The first being the xCloud, right? It's that Microsoft streaming tech that they built. There was a video Microsoft put out a while back going over it, and it's their way of reaching 2 billion gamers. That is Microsoft's strategy going forward. They want to reach 2 billion gamers, as they feel like the console market only has around 200 million, and they want to expand that, target all these people. So they have xCloud, and they feel they have a competitive advantage over not only Nintendo, but especially PlayStation, because Microsoft has the cloud. They have the Azure servers. So they are at an advantage where Sony, in that case, would have to get servers from Amazon or perhaps Google. And Microsoft knows that Google's getting in. We were talked about Project Stream, how that is going for them. And everybody says that Google is very much going to make a splash next generation getting into the console industry. And Xbox is counting on the xCloud to be one of their pillars, using the Azure cloud to try to target people on Android phones, target people on PCs, target people on whatever device you use. Now, I know there was a couple quotes from Phil Spencer yesterday of how Xbox Game Pass will be going everywhere, and I'll have a different video going over that in detail. But that's definitely one of the pronged approaches. The other being a cheap cloud box, which is something Brad Sams had also kind of talked about months ago. This cloud streaming box, a really cheap, Fire Stick you can essentially buy for like $120. So you have the xCloud, you have all the streaming stuff, and then for your price-conscious consumer, the one who really doesn't need the 4K or have a 4K television, someone is like really like looking at it and like, I don't know, these things are really expensive, I don't have $300 to spend right now. Well, Microsoft's going to have an option for them to pick up a streaming device at around $120. So that is like one prong, right? But then they also have the traditional hardware, because this is where everybody kind of blows things out of proportion. They see the streaming coming from Microsoft, they see the xCloud, they see the streaming device, and they think next gen is all going to be about streaming. That's not the case. Microsoft has said repeatedly, and myself in plenty of videos, that they're trying to give people options. They know that there's a segment of the console audience that wants the best, and that is what the Xbox One X is. So with that in mind, they're still doing traditional hardware. And he mentions that they're basically going to do two console hardwares. Now, me and Jez Corden, we've talked about this on the Xbox 2 podcast from our sources that we have heard, that we, couldn't really verify, but we had both heard that there is two traditional consoles that Microsoft is going to launch in 2020, and Brad Sams is basically saying the same thing. One's going to be like the Xbox One S, and one's going to be like the Xbox One X. They're both going to be able to play the same games. One is just going to be give you the premium experience. So, with that in mind, you have the multi-pronged approach. You have everything laid out before you. You have streaming without the need of actually getting an Xbox. You can just play the games on the phone if you want. You have the price-conscious consumer, give them a streaming device for $100, and then you have the people who want a local hardware solution, and then you give one that is cheaper than the PlayStation 5 with maybe a little bit worse specs, but then you also give them a premium version of the Xbox that is probably the most expensive one out there and will be a little bit more powerful than the PlayStation 5, and that seems to be exactly how Microsoft is going to approach next generation. Game Pass is pretty important. It's one of the reasons why they went out and bought all these new studios, so they can constantly have content for people to choose Xbox and actually want to stream on the xCloud. He also goes on to say that BC is not going anywhere, that Microsoft is making that a core feature, basically, that you can expect backwards compatibility to continue on, which is, of course, something that we all knew was going to happen. There's no way Microsoft was going to be like, yeah, we made back compat such a big thing here. Well, we're scrapping it no longer, right? I'm just kind of curious if they're going to make any improvements to it, like how some of the Xbox 360 games are X-enhanced. Are some of these Xbox One games going to be enhanced natively on, the next-gen systems? That's something really interesting to think about. And then he also has some other interesting kind of rumors and things that he's heard. He heard that at one point Microsoft was considering buying EA, but of course maybe no longer. He says all these big companies basically look in and say, hey, should we buy this company? So that actually was really a thing, and that Microsoft is currently potentially looking at Discord for some sort of acquisition. Makes sense for Microsoft. I'm not really sure if it makes sense for Discord, but maybe it does. He also said there'll be changes coming to the Windows Store and an Xbox app, trying to make it all unified. And that he also talks about a Project Rama, which is a digital attach. He talks about how the discless Xbox One is coming next year, and basically you can buy it at a store, preload it with Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold, and when it ships to you, like, all your information will be on there. You basically tell them your gamer tag and stuff, and everything will be there, so you can just get the system, plug it in, and you're good to go. So that is all the leaks that Brad Sams has. Link is in the description of the video if you want to watch it for yourself. I recommend you do. Give him a like, leave a comment for him, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, and hit that subscribe button if you're new. Share it out on Twitter so more people can check it out. Hit the notification bell if you always want to be notified when I drop new content. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and we'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.